Good morning, everyone. We're Team B, and we're going to explain about situational and topical syllabus. And under the title, we have this quotation that I really like because I think it summarizes what we're going to look into. And it says, grammar is not as effective as first speculated, since effective language use cannot be ensured unless it is contextualized. And we're going to see why. So first of all, the definition is that situational syllables, it states that the content has to be organized according to situations in which certain language is likely to be employed. I think this is going to be a little familiar for us because I think it has some features that shares with the lexical approach.
And the situations in which can apply this syllabus is at the hotel, at the travel agent, at the post office, at the restaurant, and shopping malls.
Some of the key features that this syllable has is that it states what the language is going to be learned depending on the situation. Like Karima said, you have different settings in which you can use the syllabus. And of course, you're not going to teach about, I don't know, clothes if the context is about a restaurant, right? So that's what we have to take in consideration. Also, because they are pieces of chunks, they are specific. We have the specific structures that students have to memorize, and therefore you have to drill a lot for them to get that knowledge. Also, it aims meaningful conversational interchange in specific context. And because of this, communication is, I think, the core of this syllabus, because it's a more, it goes more towards communication rather to grammar specifically. And in the last one, I think that that's the most important, that teachers, we get to exploit a lot of areas, which are the social linguistic, psycholinguistic, linguistic with knowledge, language, sorry, and the educational part, which is the institutional principles.
For the stages for situational and topical syllabus, we have two main stages. The first stage stands for that we have to analyze this linguistic situation in which learners might use the language, and then how we're going to provide those pieces of language, let's call it like that, and how can we know how activities or how are we going to carry out the language. For example, if we are going to focus on productive skills or receptive skills, it's more focused on how are you providing the message. But since we're talking about situation and topical syllabus, the main focus of this syllabus is the communicative effectiveness within a situation, rather than structures used in a conversation.
Okay, so now here we have some advantages, and one of them is that it is more efficient and motivating than the grammatical syllabus for the learner. Next one, it is more learner-centered, as it takes into account what students actually need in that situation. And then this type of syllabus pays attention to the learner's speaking ability in contrast to the grammatical syllabus, as Jackie mentioned before. And here we have some disadvantages. So it is, one of them is that it is difficult to choose the most appropriate situations for general English, since it tries to teach language in context of some specific language situations. We cannot include all of the situations that students will face. Then we have, it is difficult to predict the language needed in a very specific situation. For example, native speakers may have a great repertoire of options to express what they need. But having a physical situation setting as a post office or in a restaurant does not necessarily predict the language forms that will be used. And then we have, students are taught the grammar they need for a given situation. However, there is a gap in their grammatical knowledge, as the grammar is not the focus, and it is dealt with incidentally. So that is that. And those are all the advantages and the disadvantages that I have. And that would be all on my behalf. Jackie wanted to say some conclusion words.
Well, just to go back to the main quotation that we went to the first slide here. Language use cannot be ensured unless it is contextualized. That's basically what the most important thing about this syllabus. We have to contextualize language structures for learners to know when and where to use them.